Before you scroll, pause for a moment. This message is not random at all. It is meant for the person who has stayed strong for so long, stayed silent for too long, and felt exhausted in ways that other people do not fully understand. There is someone who does not look at you as a challenge, a reward, or simply a passing emotion. They look at you and recognize something much deeper within. They feel a powerful desire to stay near you, to protect you, and to ease the burden you carry without speaking much about it. And if you have ever wondered whether a love like this truly exists, stay with these words, because what you are about to hear may reach a part of you that has waited a very long time to feel understood. Not everyone will stay and listen all the way through. Most people turn away when the truth begins to feel too close. But if you are still here reading, that already reveals something important. It shows that a part of your heart is paying close attention. And by the time you finish this, you may begin to view your own life, your own struggles, and your own future in a completely different light. The kind of love we are talking about here does not arrive with loud noise. It does not demand attention. It appears quietly. Yet when it is genuine, it changes countless things in a person's life. If you're tired of unhealthy relationships and want the real Jungian truth about who genuinely wants to help you heal, hit like right now. This person wants to marry you, but not for shallow reasons. They are not interested only in appearance, not in status, and not because they feel incomplete and need someone to fill a void. They want to marry you because something inside them is deeply touched by your heart. They notice how much you have carried by yourself. They sense the silent battles you rarely discuss. They see the brave face you wear, the steady tone you use, and the way you keep moving forward even when life feels heavier than anyone realizes. And instead of stepping away from that reality, they feel drawn even closer. Not because of pity, but because of profound respect, sincere care, and a quiet love that grows stronger the more they come to know the real you. They think about you with a serious kind of love, a love that does not need to perform, a love that does not require an audience. It is patient, observant, and steady every single day. Of course they notice your smile, but they also notice your quiet moments. They feel the subtle shifts in your energy. They recognize the times when you say you are fine, yet your eyes reveal something entirely different. And every time they notice that, the same thought echoes inside them. I want to be the safe place where this person can finally rest. I want to be the one who helps carry what they have carried alone for far too long. If these words already resonate with you, keep reading because it only becomes deeper from here. When they imagine a future together with you, they are not thinking about a perfect wedding ceremony, beautiful photographs, or what other people might think. They think about real life. They think about the early mornings when you feel drained before the day even starts. They think about the quiet evenings when old memories return unexpectedly. They think about stressful days, uncertain days, and the moments when you feel emotionally exhausted. They picture themselves standing beside you through all of it. Not only during your happiest moments, but also during the hidden and difficult ones. Comment Heal if you've ever wished someone would genuinely help ease your pain instead of adding more to it. They picture themselves honoring you, protecting your peace, and gradually helping you breathe a little easier. They dream of a connection built on trust, patience, honesty, and the kind of understanding that comes from seeing someone beyond appearances. They do not want to remain on the edge of your life, watching from a distance. They want to walk beside you within it, step by step, day after day, through good seasons and difficult seasons, through hope and recovery, through every challenge life may bring to both of you. And here is something especially powerful. They are not trying to save you as if there is something wrong with you. They do not view you that way at all. They see your resilience. They see your ability to continue moving forward. They see someone who has managed to keep a gentle heart alive in a world that has not always been gentle in return. That truth affects them more deeply than they can easily explain. So if you have ever felt invisible, Stay with this part because it matters. They see far beyond your calm exterior. They notice the hidden weight behind it. They see the part of you that lies awake at night thinking about things no one else knows. They see the side of you that learned to smile while carrying disappointment, sadness, and long stretches of emotional fatigue. They notice how often you give more than you receive, how often you listen more than you speak, how often you create space for everyone else while quietly asking for very little yourself. And what they feel when they notice all of that is not fear. It is devotion. It is a strong desire to stand beside you in a meaningful way, to help carry the weight, to make your burden lighter in practical and emotional ways, to become a place where your heart no longer feels the need to stay guarded every moment of every day. Because what people need most is not applause, praise, or temporary excitement that burns brightly and disappears just as quickly. What people need deep inside is to be truly seen, completely seen, not the polished version they show the world in order to survive, the real version, the tired version, the healing version, the hopeful version, the version still learning how to trust again. And this person feels drawn to all of it, not just the easy parts, but the entire truth of who you are. That is why this love feels different from so many others. It looks beyond the surface and chooses the soul. They do not want to marry you simply to gain something for themselves. They do not view you as an accomplishment. They are not trying to possess you, control you, or display your love as proof of their success. What they want is both simpler and deeper than that. They want to care for you. They want to protect the tender part of your heart. They want to help ease the strain you carry without ever making you feel weak for carrying it. Their love is not rushed. It is not impulsive. It moves with purpose. It understands that healing takes time. It understands that trust develops slowly. It understands that old wounds do not disappear after one conversation or one beautiful promise. Because of that, they are willing to be patient. They are willing to stay through the entire process. They are willing to show up repeatedly until their actions communicate what words alone never fully can. I am here. I am staying. You do not have to carry everything by yourself anymore. And notice this because it truly matters. They do not want to take away your independence. They are not intimidated by your strength. In fact, your strength is one of the reasons they feel drawn toward you. They admire how you survived. They admire how you kept your heart open. They admire the courage it takes to still believe in connection after experiencing disappointment. That is why their love is not about competition. It is about partnership. They want to stand beside your strength, not above it. And if you have ever been loved in a way that made you feel smaller, then you already understand how meaningful that difference can be. This person pays attention in a way that many others do not. Most people only notice actions. They observe behavior. They react to whatever is easiest to see. But this person listens for emotions. They notice energy. They hear what exists beneath your words. They recognize the slight pause in your voice. They sense the sadness hidden inside a sentence that sounds perfectly normal to everyone else. They feel when your presence becomes quieter, even by a small amount. And instead of demanding explanations immediately, they remain gentle. They remain close. They allow their presence to speak first. That is part of what makes this love feel so healing. It does not only respond to what you do, it responds to who you are. When love reacts only to actions, it becomes conditional. It grows when life is easy and disappears when life becomes difficult. But when love responds to feelings as well, it becomes steady, secure, and profound. It says you matter here, not because everything is going well, but because you are you. And if that idea reaches your heart, keep reading, because this is where many people begin to understand why certain relationships never felt safe. This person has likely experienced pain too. They understand that people who have carried heavy burdens for years do not always need solutions. Sometimes they need quiet understanding, Sometimes they need room to breathe. Sometimes they need someone who can simply sit beside them without trying to repair every moment. This person wants to be that kind of dependable presence in your life. They imagine a relationship where joy and sorrow can exist side by side. A relationship where laughter and healing can live together. A relationship where difficult days do not threaten the bond. Instead, those days strengthen it. Type marry if a part of you still hopes that someone wants to marry you for your heart rather than control you. They picture a future that feels calm instead of chaotic. A future that is not filled with mixed signals, emotional confusion, or constant uncertainty. They imagine coming home to each other after long days and knowing that no performance is required. They imagine conversations that feel safe, silence that feels comfortable, and a connection that does not disappear whenever life becomes challenging. They believe love should be a source of peace, not a source of fear. They believe commitment should create security, not anxiety. And when they think about building a life with you, they think about creating something steady enough to withstand difficult seasons and gentle enough to protect the vulnerable parts of both hearts. They want a relationship where honesty is welcomed, where mistakes can be discussed without judgment, and where both people continue growing together rather than growing apart. They imagine supporting your dreams, encouraging your healing, celebrating your victories, and standing beside you during moments of uncertainty. Not because they feel obligated to, because they genuinely want to. Because somewhere along the way, your happiness became important to them. Your peace became important to them. Your well-being became important to them. And that kind of care cannot be forced. It grows naturally when someone sees your soul and chooses it again and again. This person does not expect perfection from you. They know you have scars. They know you have fears. They know there are moments when you doubt yourself. But none of those things make them want to leave. If anything, they make them want to understand you more deeply. Because they know that the strongest relationships are not built by perfect people. They are built by real people who choose each other honestly. People who stay when life becomes complicated. People who continue showing up when emotions become difficult. People who understand that love is not only a feeling, it is also a decision. A daily decision, a quiet decision, a meaningful decision. And every time they imagine a future with you, they keep arriving at the same conclusion. You are not someone they want to impress for a moment. You are someone they want to understand for a lifetime. They do not dream about temporary excitement. They dream about lasting connection. They dream about building trust so deep that neither of you has to question where you stand. They dream about creating a relationship where both people feel valued, respected, and emotionally safe. And perhaps that is what makes this love feel so rare. It is not driven by ego. It is not driven by fear. It is not driven by the need to prove anything. It is driven by genuine care. The kind of care that notices your silent struggles. The kind of care that respects your strength. The kind of care that sees your wounds without defining you by them. The kind of care that looks at your heart and quietly says, I see you. I respect you. I choose you. And if a love like that finds its way into your life, it may not arrive with dramatic promises or loud declarations. It may arrive gently, patiently, steadily. But when it is real, it has the power to change everything. Peaceful, grounded, and deeply real. They imagine ordinary days with you that somehow feel sacred in their simplicity. Coffee already prepared in the morning. Quiet check-ins after a long, exhausting day. A gentle hand resting on your shoulder when your thoughts become too loud to hold alone. A kind of silence that doesn't feel uncertain or heavy, but warm and safe. The kind of home where your nervous system finally begins to settle, because love no longer feels like something that might vanish at any moment. They don't see problems as battles between two people, but as something to solve together. They want to build routines that make life feel safer for both of you. Not only the exciting highs, but the steady, everyday moments that actually shape a life. Surface-level love gets excited by intensity, by peak moments, by emotional highs. But real love pays attention to the ordinary days. It asks quietly, how can I make this person's life softer, calmer, less heavy? How can I be someone they don't have to constantly question? Someone whose presence already feels like reassurance instead of uncertainty. That is the kind of future they imagine with you. Stable, loyal, calm, still passionate, but rooted deeply, like something that cannot be easily shaken. And if you are still listening, a part of you may already understand that stability is not dull. Stability is where the heart finally stops bracing for impact. Stability is where a tired soul can finally exhale. Much of your pain did not come from one single moment. It came from being misunderstood repeatedly, from giving deeply and receiving confusion in return, from staying loyal while others stayed uncertain, from hoping someone would finally choose you clearly and fully, only to be met with distance, hesitation, or mixed signals. Over time, that kind of experience teaches you to stay guarded, to expect disappointment even in moments that feel good, to hold something back just in case, to keep a quiet exit plan in your heart even when you want to stay fully present. That is not because you are cold, but because you learn to protect yourself, and they see that. They recognize those protective layers without trying to shame them. They don't come closer demanding that you become easier or simpler to love. They come closer, wanting to love you in a way that doesn't require you to perform or hide. A love that matches words with consistent actions. A love that reduces doubt instead of creating it. They don't want you lying awake, wondering where you stand. They don't want you shrinking yourself just to keep peace. They don't want your heart repeatedly learning lessons about abandonment. Instead, they want to offer something that slowly teaches your body a different truth. That closeness can feel safe. That consistency can actually exist. That love can stay. But that kind of love also gently asks something in return. Not immediately, not forcefully, not under pressure. But eventually, it asks you to let it in. Not only the version of you that is composed and in control, but also the parts that are still healing. The parts that still expect loss right when things start feeling secure. Because pain trains you to prepare for endings before beginnings even settle. It teaches you to love halfway, so you don't get destroyed fully. It teaches you to keep emotional distance even when you crave closeness the most. But the person meant here is not preparing to leave. They are preparing to stay. And that difference reshapes everything. It changes how quiet moments feel. It changes what silence means between two people. It changes how safe a random evening can feel when there is no tension underneath it. It changes how deeply your body can finally rest when love is no longer something you have to defend yourself from. Safe love can feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable in a strange way. But unfamiliar does not mean wrong. It only means new. And sometimes new is exactly what healing feels like before it becomes peace. Real healing rarely happens in isolation. It grows inside safe connection. Inside relationships where you are not judged for your history, controlled for your emotions, or managed for your reactions, but instead seen fully and held gently while still being allowed to be yourself. That is what this kind of person wants to offer. Not a perfect fantasy life without challenges, but a steady presence through them. A calm heart beside yours through different seasons of life. A consistent kind of care that does not disappear when things become difficult. They want to know all of you. Your past, your fears, your quiet habits when you are overwhelmed, your silence when you are tired, your softness when you finally feel safe enough not to perform strength anymore. And instead of pulling away from those parts, they move closer. Their love is quiet, but not weak. It is steady in a way that does not need noise to prove itself. It grows slowly. It remains. It shows up in small actions that carry real weight over time. checking in without being asked, noticing what drains you, protecting your peace when you are too exhausted to do it yourself. These things may appear small, but to someone who has carried too much alone for too long, they mean everything. That is why this kind of love feels transformative, not because it is dramatic, but because it is consistent. And consistency is something the heart rarely forgets once it finally experiences it. They are drawn to your strength, not to challenge it, but because it tells the story of what you survived. They know you have held yourself together in moments when no one else saw how hard it was. They know there were days you continued forward purely on resilience and silent determination. And they want to become someone who eases that weight instead of adding to it. Someone who makes home feel like relief instead of tension. Someone who allows rest to be normal, not something earned only after exhaustion. They want to notice your tiredness before you even speak it, to share responsibilities without resentment, to support you in practical ways that actually lighten your emotional load. This is not performative love, it is lived love. The kind that shows itself in ordinary moments and keeps showing up long after intensity fades. They understand vulnerability is not weakness. They know letting someone close is one of the most courageous things a person can do. And they want to honor that trust daily, not only when it is easy. If something in this feels familiar, there is a reason it reaches you deeply. Sometimes the heart recognizes truth before the mind can explain it. And instead of pushing that feeling away, it is worth staying with it for a moment. They imagine marriage not as one single event, but as a shared life built slowly through repeated small moments. Waking up beside you on quiet mornings, holding you through sudden waves of old pain, being the steady voice when your thoughts become overwhelming, being the calm presence when life feels too heavy. They picture simple moments that become everything. Shared routines, comfortable silence, a glance across the room that quietly says, "I am here with you." A home that feels safe instead of tense. A relationship that does not disappear when difficulty arrives. They want to be the reason your body relaxes a little more over time. The reason your breathing becomes softer. The reason you no longer feel like you must constantly prepare for disappointment. Not because they promise perfection, but because they offer consistency. Not because life becomes flawless, but because it becomes emotionally safe to live. This kind of love requires maturity, patience, and emotional awareness. It values peace over chaos, presence over performance, and understanding over control. It is rare, but rarity does not make it imaginary. It makes it valuable. And maybe a part of you already senses that this kind of love is not too much to ask for. Maybe it is exactly what fits you best. Not a fantasy rescue, not a dramatic saving, just something steady, real, and safe. You are not too much to be loved. You are not difficult to understand. You are not invisible in the way you might have felt before. The love that is right for you does not arrive through confusion or chaos. It arrives through clarity, consistency, and quiet choosing that repeats itself every day without needing to be chased. And when it comes, you will not need to shrink yourself to keep it. You will not need to prove your worth repeatedly. You will not need to live in fear of its disappearance. It will remain through both strength and softness. It will meet your strongest parts with respect and your most fragile parts with care. It will not rush your healing, but it will stay beside it. It will not erase your past, but it will stop your past from controlling everything ahead. And maybe that is what your heart has been waiting for all along. Not perfection, not rescue, just something real enough to feel like peace after a long period of noise. If something in this stayed with you, let it remain. Let it remind you that the kind of love you have been searching for is not just an idea. It is something that can exist in real life. Somewhere, quietly, a person may already be choosing love in exactly this way.